Hello?
What's up,
Hello?
bro? What's up, bro?
What's up, Bo? What's
Welcome,
happening?
welcome to the show. Chop it up with nice. You hear me?
Yeah. What you want me to speak on? The wrongful conviction?
Now, introduce yourself to the people, bro.
My name is Robert Ornelas, aka Riff Raff. Been in the system over 34 years. I'm under the John Burge era where where they were torturing us. I had specifically Brownfield and Euclides, and they've been on all. Euclides was the one that was on the Wilson cases, where he's putting what do you call it, electric prods on people's testicles and all that. In my situation, when I got arrested, I was high off PCP, and they gave me like about 3 beatings, anywhere from squeezing the testicles to choking and slapping and punching, and I had a state police involved in my case as well. And basically, all my files came up missing on the post-conviction. They changed their testimonies. They obviously lied at all my hearings and at trial. The public defender was technically on the side of the courts where he jumped up and took a self-defense without telling me he was. I proved all this in court, but I had ended up getting Judge Ford as my post-conviction judge, and he was on Keith Walker case where he pre-wrote his statement. I claimed the same thing, and I didn't even know Keith Walker had claimed this. And he said that my state's attorney was more credible, who my state's attorney was also a detective from Area 4, which is part of the Code of Silence when it comes to Chicago police. I purposely misspelled my name as a future sign that I was being duressed and being beat. At that time, we didn't use the word torture because all this stuff was still under wraps. And having said all that, so far, in 2019, the state conceded on my young adult issue, and I was supposed to get resentenced. Then they came down with a Williams case in 2023, denied me of August. Then right now there's a case that came out in December, Estrada, that puts us the young adults in. I brought all that up because my appellate attorney didn't want to bring up my presumption of innocent and my actual innocent claim. I used the FBI report from the Inglewood Forest newly discovered evidence, how the state's attorney's office told Fullinterview review how to falsify the statements and fabricate the evidence and to add initials to it. And as we were asking to them to correct it all along, I testified to this similar to this in my post conviction on '08. Didn't have the evidence. The thing about this, Judge Ford, when he was a state's attorney, sat on Fullinterview back in 1990 when they manufactured this case against me. And as of right now, I'm in appellate court on my young adult issue, and I'm waiting for whatever happens, so I can proceed to the Illinois Supreme Court with my actual innocent claim and my presumption was innocent. Dorothy Brown in 2019 tried to bury my actual innocent claim by never filing my notice of appeal. So I had, and by the COVID happening a year later, or the following year, I ended up having to go to the Illinois Supreme Court because the appellate court time barred me my actual innocent claim and my young adult claim. So the Illinois Supreme Court sent me back, but the appellate attorney did not want to bring up my presumption of my actual innocence. Now, my presumption of innocence, I put in a motion in 2020 under a new case that came out from the U.S. Supreme Court, basically saying that no one can override your presumption of innocence. And I was able to prove it by the record, by the book Crook County, and by common sense, and by the motions that I ended up acquiring in 2016. When I got denied in 2010 on my successor post. My first post conviction, my 2016 successor post was denied, and then that's when I put in 2018 successor. I'm kind of a little bit all over the place because I'm trying to give you a history of how long I've
Okay.
been battling majority of this
Okay.
pro se.
It's all good, bro. I appreciate you for sharing all that. You hear me?
Yeah. I will go into more detail, but I know we're subject to
I
only a little bit
know.
of time of speaking on this.
Okay.
So,
I'm run right through the questions right now I have for you. You hear me?
all right.
How old are you?
Right now, well, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm 53 tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Thanks.
Uh, what's your full name and ID number?
Robert Ornelas, Ornelas.
Okay, what's your ID number?
K50305.
Okay, and you say how long you been incarcerated?
Uh, 34 and a half.
34 and a half. Where you from?
I'm from the southeast side on the hundreds, off Torrance, 104th.
Okay. Uh, can you describe your neighborhood growing up as a kid?
Yeah, it was right after they started closing the steel mills. It's like basically middle class and poor. We got the projects right there. Both my parents were factory workers. I went to Catholic grammar school. Went to public high school, which I think was one of my biggest mistakes because in there that's when I started fighting and all that. But I struggled to get a high school diploma, which I ended up getting. So my neighborhood, of course, it had the Chicago street organizations over there, as well as the gangs. The police, dirty police as usual. Wherever we went, it was picking on us, what have you. And back then, it wasn't believed that they did this stuff, and now we could look back and say this is what happened. And so it was like, we're fighting this guys from the projects, fighting this guys from the gentlemen, fighting the other guys outside the neighborhood. So it was just topsy-turvy all the time, everything up and
Okay.
down.
Okay. And basically, that's what you saw as a kid growing up.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you
Alcoholics, whiteheads. The neighborhood was in the slump after the mills were closed, after the steel mills.
did you see any act of violence out there?
All violence all the time, whether it's bum fights or whether just guys from the projects coming picking on the guys in the houses, guys from other neighborhoods come pick on you. If you go or leave the neighborhood, they pick on you. So you're forced to fight wherever you go.
Okay. Uh, describe your experience in school as a kid.
Well, I went to outside of my neighborhood school, which was a Catholic grammar school on 91st Street, and over there. So you're dealing with a whole different neighborhood of kids that don't really know you. So I guess you had to fight, but you got into it. You know what I mean? You got some
Mm-hmm.
you got into little scraps here and there. Come. I didn't want to take I quit taking the the grammar school bus. I just started taking the CTA bus. It's not like the little scenic route. Seen the
Okay.
shops and seen the neighborhoods, and some guys I got along with, some other ones you didn't. But most of it is like, it is what it is. It's part of the city, you might say.
Mm-hmm. Uh, do you think your teachers cared for you as a kid?
Well, I say a majority of the Catholic teachers, yes, and some of the public high school teachers did. Some of them did, yes. Other ones they didn't get two shits. But some of them did care.
Okay. How far did you go in school?
Well, I ended up finishing high school, and I was in my first year of college. Then I ended up getting locked up on this case.
Uh, what what was the police like in your neighborhood?
Dirty police, as usual, whip our asses, sometimes plan stuff. Um, yeah, that's mainly what it is. They don't like us a lot, especially not your own ethnic group. They didn't like you. The Mexican police, they didn't even like you.
Okay.
Even though my sister was a Chicago police officer, but they still didn't like us.
Right. How did they treat you in your neighborhood?
Well, they harassed you. They will plan stuff, but they wouldn't plan it. Like they wouldn't charge you. They're like, yeah, we know you did this or that. But other guys, they would plan stuff on it. I can't say they did plan them. They beat me up a few times, choked me up, things like
Okay.
that.
Did they make you feel safe? Why not?
They make me what?
Did they make you feel safe in your
No,
neighborhood?
hell no,
Why or
no,
why
no.
not?
That because the police, the police are dirty. They'll lift your ass and they'll plan stuff on you. That was the thing is that you had to watch them.
I said, what did your parents think about the police?
At the time, my parents were very naive to the police. They assumed, anybody with a suit and a tie were telling the truth. For example, I was all the time fighting the kids from the projects all the time. They just assumed when the police were looking for me that I participated in whatever the police accused me of. But the flip side of it, like one time I was in just went to the movie theaters with my father, and the Area 2 police called me over there because somebody lied and said I broke into a church. I happened to have the stub in my pocket from the day before. I was like, oh, look, I was at the movies. I showed it to them. They looked at me and said, well, if you find anything out, let us know. Another time, I was by my sister's house, and she, like I said, she was a Chicago police. She had a barbecue,
Mm-hmm.
and some kids in the neighborhood got beat up real bad with a golf club. Of course, I was named in the crowd, but I wasn't even there that day, and they charged me with the case.
That's crazy.
But down aggravated battery.
So it's a lot of y'all.
I had,
It's a lot of y'all over there looking like, huh?
well, basically, yeah, but they knew exactly who we were, but they don't care. They'll blame us for everything and anything. Even stuff they did, they still blamed us for it, and the
That's
police will
crazy.
always believe it. Yeah,
That's crazy. So
yeah.
did you all have a positive or a negative experience like with the police?
Man, super negative. You could put it like that.
What did the police accuse you of?
In this case, or
Uh
all the
huh.
cases.
This case
This
right here.
case, they accused me of a double homicide.
Okay, double homicide.
Yeah.
How did they treat you in interrogation?
Oh, that's when they beat me. I claimed the Fifth Amendment, and they said you ain't getting shit. That's when they beat me, grabbed my testicles, and choked me up, beat me, and it kept on by me being high off PCP. The state police, cause I got arrested out of Frankfurt, and the state police kept on trying to give me blank forms for me to sign, which I refused. And that was obvious later on, when now looking back, that he was gonna probably fill in the blanks if I would have signed it. But I wasn't worried about them trying to trace my name over anything. Like, so that's why I refused to sign it. Plus, I know the police are not my friends. Now, the homicide detectives ended up coming to the state police headquarters in Joliet, and that's where they went upside my head. These ones, and they had me go along with with their version of events, how everything was going down. You know, like as far as they're trying to feed me what they thought was facts of the case, even though I still claim the fifth and I still refuse to sign the stuff. But to them, it didn't matter. Then the police ended up getting caught up on the so-called first statement because they said it was a verbatim statement, exactly what I said. It had police terminology in it. The color of the car was incorrect. How many shot one the victims received was incorrect. So if I'm freely giving this information, why was all that incorrect? And later on when they transferred me to state police, the area 2, where the assistant state's attorney came, who was also a detective, they pre-wrote the statement, knowing I was still high off PCP, and I purposely misspelled my name as a future sign that they were beating me.
Okay.
And then all the facts in their case, most of them facts are wrong.
All right. And you say it's a double homicide.
Yeah.
How many did you have any witnesses on your case?
I had no witnesses. In fact, one of the witnesses that seen somebody, he ended up dying before trial, and he saw somebody totally different. Because at the time, I'm then and now 5'7". Back then I weighed like maybe 115, 112, and somebody saw someone 5'9" to 6 feet with medium build. So that's nowhere near me. Now
Exactly.
I weigh about over 200 now, but back then I was still small.
Okay. What has it been for you these days incarcerated?
So how you say? Repeat the question, please.
I say, what have it been for you these days incarcerated? Like, how has it been for you these days incarcerated?
Well, it's rough as far as it's a very oppressive environment, especially in Max. It's very oppressive. We always getting group punishment. From and access to law library. We trying to study, trying to get up out of the system, and you'll be a lot of times you're pro se. So it's very oppressive, you might say. And
Okay.
even though we're in a medium now, it's kind of no different. It's more of a like the more it's more openly discriminated against us than versus
Okay.
more covert. In Max over here is more overt. There's no
Do
secret,
you
but like that.
do you have any kids?
No kids. The girls got abortions. No, I
Okay.
was supposed to have kids. They're about 36 years old, both of them.
Uh, I got a couple more questions for you, boss.
All right. Let me.
What do you think are some of the misconceptions about incarcerated people?
Well, they were all animals. We all don't got no principles. We all got no morals.
Okay.
That's a lie. All of us don't deserve a first chance, let alone a second chance.
So, what do you think people misunderstanding about you?
They judge a book by its cover, and that's obviously there because I'm a kind of quiet person when I'm dealing with staff and all that. Like when people get to know me, they see like I'm a whole different person. But so when they look at me, they just assume oh, he's Mexican. He lets he's like this, he's like that. He ignorant. He's this, he's that. When people get to know me, they say I'm quite the opposite.
Okay. What are your greatest lessons you learned since you've been in prison?
When all the what?
What are the greatest lessons you learned since you've been in prison?
Man, I don't even know where to start. Because one thing about my situation, by being a max for all them years, you could either get in trouble, and they weren't providing us education at the time. So I invested a lot in reading, reading. That's some things they can't take away from me. As I read, things on history, Bible history, you name it, African history, European, Aztec sociology. How can I say, certain hermeneutics, you might call it, science, cultures, dealing with people, how to deal with people, or of course the law, and different
What
books by different different writers, you name it. All I did is really study a lot, memorize. I tried to work on some languages, but I had no one to converse with, like for anything from French,
yeah.
Aramaic, Hebrew, and Portuguese, and some more. But I had no one to practice with, Latin, you name it. So I
Okay.
kind of taught myself a lot of stuff, and as far as the studies go. So that's one thing I did.
Okay. What are some of the things you want to do when you get free?
Well, it depends. If I get out now, I want to finish my college. Cause I'm in college right now, so I got almost a year and a half in that, and I'm doing real good in that. So I
Okay.
of course work, but eventually whatever degree I get, I further want
One
to.
minute remaining.
I want to get into business too as
Mhm.
well.
So, what makes you happy, and what brings you joy?
What made me happy is teaching others. That's what brings me joy. And knowing that help some of these young guys, you know, get in the right direction. Get away from the street life of drugs, gang activity, or street activity. Because nowadays the gang activity when we're growing up is totally different of now. So I try to help people. And talk to these young guys whenever I can, put them on the right directions, quit coming in and out of these people's prisons. And try to live their life, victorious and things like that. That's what helps me. Bring
Man,
joy.
bro, nice chopping up with you, bro. You hear me? Hopefully,
All
talk
right,
to you
blessings,
more in the
brother, man.
future, bro.
Appreciate it, bro.
You know what I'm
All right,
saying?
whenever you got to send a word, man, send a word with Magic over here and let me know what's going on.
I
All
got
right,
you, bro.
appreciate you, brother. And God
Appreciate the
bless you,
love.
brother. And stay up and keep the struggle alive, brother. You know what I mean?
Enjoy the rest of your day, boss.